This is the Real Digital Transformation podcast series, empowering technology and business professionals to succeed with digital transformation. Now, here's your host, best-selling author Thomas Erl.
Hi, this is Thomas Erl, and welcome to another edition of the Real Digital Transformation podcast series. I have with me today Nada Sanders, a distinguished professor of supply chain management at Northeastern University and a global business futurist. Nada is an award-winning author of several books, including the recently released title, The Humachine. Nada, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas, for having me.
So the topic of your book relates to the nature by which humans collaborate with machines, or by which they need to collaborate in order for AI projects to be successful. And you've also indicated in your research that that aspect of adopting AI, utilizing AI for your business is often a missing ingredient in terms of AI projects fulfilling their expectations, fulfilling their potential. Please tell us more about that aspect of AI projects that we need to learn more about and how it ties into your research and what you've written about.
Excellent question. I think, we're in a time now, Thomas, where I think businesses, individuals, all of us are really mesmerized, captivated by AI technology. And one of the things that in my research, and I've been doing research for a long time. I also work with numerous companies. I give keynotes. But one of the things that I have seen over and over again is that in the process of acquiring the latest and greatest, whatever the buzz is, the majority of these projects do not succeed. They certainly do not meet their goals. We have statistics that show about 70% do not. And the reason for that is that they are overlooking the human element, and in particular, the way the human element, meaning workers, employees, everybody from CEOs, senior vice president, upper level managers down to assembly line workers, customer service workers, all of it, every single individual. The problem is that they have not been integrated with the technology, where that technology is meant to enhance the ability of workers to do what they're doing. So it is the idea, the notion that we can simply take technology, acquire it, add it, almost like Eeyore's tail. I think I use the term in the book, a plug and play solution, without really thinking about the organizational process, the business model, the people that we have. The talent that we have, and how this technology enhances the business model. What that means is that not everybody needs the same technology. Not every business is going to use that technology in the same way, but rather there needs to be customization and all that. What I have found over and over is that is missing. And that is the key ingredient. Actually, if I can break it down, it's actually two. One is the process of integrating the talent, the human talent of the business. And the number two is putting the human talent in the driver's seat. I think that's really important.
When we talk about integrating humans with machines, when we talk about the human element, it makes sense. Humans need to work with machines effectively. They need to learn to adapt what they do in response to the presence of new machines and so on. But it would be helpful if you could provide some examples of common interactions or common forms of collaboration, so that we can get more insight as to what the typical business environment needs to deal with when they bring AI in-house.
It's a great question. It is difficult to answer only from the standpoint that I challenge the term typical, because every environment is different. And also within the same business, I think, so we can cut across a business and look at various verticals, and they're going to be different. And I think also, within a particular vertical, the level of decisions that are made are going to vary in their level of importance. So I think what is important here is that we differentiate between rote decisions that can be automated, that are not important or less important. And I think whether we cut the organization horizontally or vertically, I think we can comfortably say, Pareto's law, 90 or 80-20 rule is alive and well. I think somebody, oftentimes I've heard it called the vital few, where you, as a business, understand which are the vital few decisions that matter. And so the key here is you automate, you bring in the technology to automate rote decisions. You free up your talent to be able to focus on the decisions that really matter. So it could be, for example, let's say that you are in procurement, and I'll give two different examples. We can pretty much automate the purchasing process for items that are, uh, 80% that are the majority, that collectively are not critical. You can completely automate that procurement process. But then you get into strategic sourcing, where you have a set of suppliers that, as a business, you co-create with. This is where what you need is relationship building. You need negotiations. If you're looking at designers, it might be a situation where you could use technology in the form of virtual reality. We've seen this in the auto industry. We see it in biopharma, where basically you have you're not co-located in the same facility. You have technology where you're looking at together, but that technology just simply gives you the information, but you are talking, you are communicating with the external party, and together creating something. The same is true on the marketing end. If you look at customers, well, all customers are not created equal. You have certain customers that contribute to the highest dollar value. Here you're talking about, again, customizing solutions, negotiating on a personal level. And I can tell you what's going to happen, what is happening over time, is technology and AI are becoming commoditized. They are leveling the playing field, where, if you look at Coke and Pepsi, and I'm just making this up, but you take Coke and Pepsi, they both have access to generative AI, to large language models. What is the differentiating factor? Well, the information that the large language models are giving to managers, it's important information. How can then those managers take that information and layer their human relationships on top of it? So you can get all the information as far as numerics, on financials, on risks, from the Gen AI. But now on top of it, the differentiating factor are going to be the human relationships, where you connect with people. And I think the focus is going to be on those clients that are really important, those suppliers, those alliances that really matter. And it's going to be the human relationships that are going to count, where you take the technology just to provide information that you need, but then you take it to the next level as far as the relationship building. And I can further elaborate if you like.
Well, I guess in terms of that relationship building, uh, what is the process? So we bring AI technology in, we change the way our business operates, we change the way our workforce carries out business operations for us. And so that's something that's planned. So I guess planning would be the initial step, and then education, and then bringing it in. But from what you've seen, to achieve what you're describing, a successful human machine collaborative relationship, what are the steps? What is the process? And how long does it usually take a typical corporation, medium sized corporation perhaps, to carry out that process so they reach a point where they're AI enabled with a workforce that has adapted to it successfully and is realizing that potential?
It's again difficult to say and I'll give examples on the spectrum because it depends on the industry the company is in, right? Some industries are naturally technology driven. And then you have others that really are not at all. Believe it or not, even in today's day and age, and I mean today, September, 2024, there are companies that are using Excel spreadsheets that have not integrated a great deal of AI. The question becomes in terms of how much do you need and what do you really need? So I would say the first step, and I think this first step is important for every business, large, small, across industry sectors, in the age that we are in, is to reassess the business model. This is really at the very top level of the company. It could be a 2-person company, a 200-person company, a 2,000-person company. Having the team at the very top, reassessing the business model. One of the executives, the CEOs that I interviewed, and I can give the name, it was Spencer Fung from Lee & Fung, said to me that a company that is not reassessing the business model, but rather proceeding with digitizing what they currently have, applying AI to what they currently have without questioning what the model is. He said it's akin to digitizing a horse and buggy in a world where your competition is creating a digital automobile. And I thought it was a great analogy, right? So if you just, if you envision the horse and buggy and you're saying, okay, we've got to digitize this, without really stepping back and saying, what is it that we have? Is this business model viable in this new era? Is wrong. So we have to start with assessing what is our competitive priority, what is the business model, how are we competing in the marketplace in this post-COVID, post-AI, because we live in a post-COVID, post-AI world where Gen AI has become normalized. And I say post-COVID because most businesses that I know, when you look under the hood, they're still recovering. Financials, if we look at revenue streams, things like that, a lot of companies are not back to their financial strong position where they were, pre-COVID. And so we've got multiple things going on. So start with the business model, create the team. And then when I say team, I'm talking about people that can really influence the organization at the leadership helm. So as an organization plans forward and drives what the steps are going to be in terms of acquiring technology, it matters to the company, and they're setting the stage that this is important and this matters. It cannot be just talk. It cannot be words. Employees very quickly see through that. So it has to be something that permeates the entire organization. Then what we do, we set a time frame. And I think time frame with time fences and goals is absolutely critical. What the changes are going to be, what the training is going to be, what the deliverables and time frame is going to be in the next quarter, in the next 6 months, in the next year, and what are we expecting. I think it is extremely important to put training in place through this process to get workers involved, employees involved at every aspect. And when I say that, I'm talking about, bring in external experts. I know a company that has training twice a week, that has meetings once a week for everybody, where every team talks about how they have integrated the technology and AI and shares their insights with everybody else. So there is this ongoing machine, if you will, where everybody is sharing the process of integration, what they're doing, what their outcomes are, mistakes that they have made, and not being afraid to share the mistakes, right? Because it's not going to be punitive. We cannot just share successes and say, this has been great, but everything is perfect, because we know we didn't make a mistake. Having an organizational structure and process in place where we know what the teams are, we're meeting on a regular basis, we're sharing the learning, we're learning, we have training, we're sharing what we've done weekly, twice a week. It depends on the size. I know one company I spoke with again last week. They do meet weekly. They share their learning with everybody. They share their mistakes, successes, what they've learned, and then there is ongoing training in terms of that technology. This particular company, I'm not going to give the name, but they are really very digital. They do digital marketing, and they're very much in the digital space. They have a corporate account with OpenAI, and OpenAI has done their training. They're very forward. On the other hand, I know a retailer, a furniture retailer in the Northeast, where basically they do training as well. But here, in this case, it is really about selling furniture at the retail locations. Now, every employee has their smartphone equipped with a link to AI. But really, in this case, it is about learning about customers and how to customize the answers, personalizing solutions to the various customers that come into the store. And even though we're talking about, and I contrast that with the digital marketing company with the corporate, OpenAI account, in the second example I'm giving, we're talking about a furniture retailer. Uh, in this new era, it is different. And as the CEO explained to me, he said, pre-COVID and pre-AI, it was really about, who came into the stores, the various locations, and how do we get their interest. Today, because of our digital footprint, customers that are coming in already know what they want. So then it becomes the actual connecting with the customers becomes a very different process in terms of connection at the customer and at the individual level, given that they already know what they need and what they want. So even though these two examples that I've just given you are really diametrically opposed in terms of the level of AI that is used and that is needed, how it is used is different, but the fact that it is used is significant. And it is used across the board. So I think the size of the company and how it's used is certainly going to have a tremendous impact in terms of, are you going to see the impacts in 6 months or a year? But I would say that we should be looking for at least some sort of quarterly or even monthly exhibit of how it is used, and are we on a trajectory of success, leading back to what I had initially started with the fact that it is it goes back to the business model. What are we trying to do? And then having it trickle down. I think it's also important to note, Thomas, that technology is expensive, and today's cutting edge technology is tomorrow's legacy system. So I think it is extremely important for companies to be very strategic in their investment and to train their talent to be adaptable to evolutions in the various um, uh, versions of technology as technology evolves and being flexible in terms of using it, not assuming that technology is the status quo, that whatever the state of the art today is fixed. I think that is a huge mistake. I think it's investing in the human element through ongoing training and making sure that that talent is adaptable to new versions, new editions of that technology as it evolves. And I would even argue, depending on the size of the company, it could be, in one case, it could be starting with a pilot project. Another, it could be investing in technology in a very limited segment of an area where the key competitive priority is for the company and then evolving it. If you look at companies that, really lead and are technologically driven, let's say you start with, look at a UPS, right? Third party logistics, a huge global leader. But years ago, when they started with algorithms and analytics, it was really in the transportation sector. It was specifically focused on vehicles, on transportation, because that is what the competitive priority for UPS was. Now, since then, it has evolved 100 million times, over in terms of how UPS uses, from route optimization to, vehicle maintenance to global distribution network design. But, you really, I hate the expression crawl before you walk and so forth, but it kind of is that way. You start with the baby steps, get your teams, your talent adjusted to it, and then evolve the technology, and then vice versa, just kind of toggle from one to the other.
Yeah, and I really like the concept you described about being prepared for not just AI in general, but versions or generations of AI adoption, phases and deeper adoption, and planning out that strategically. I think that's actually a very prudent way to view it and approach it right now. Before we conclude, Nada, just one more question. If you were to speak to a room full of CEOs right now about this, what would be the top challenges or pitfalls right now that you would tell them to be aware of?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking me that, because I would be pretty strong and adamant. I want to say don't be stupid. But, it's right now we're seeing so much in terms of follow the leader and the hype. Do not follow the hype. Do not. I believe it is perilous. I think that it is very risky because the costs are really very high. I would say, number one, invest in your people. Do not eliminate talented staff that are experienced. Hold on to really talented, experienced people that know the business. We are seeing way too many CEOs that are laying off senior talented staff and acquiring AI and technology to replace them. Wrong. Big mistake. I would say hold on to your talent and strategically approach AI to enhance your business model. Think about starting very slowly and think about what those investments and those costs are. But do not assume that AI can replace your talented staff. Do not follow the hype. Look at the business model and acquire only what you need to enhance the competitive priorities that you have from a strategic standpoint, and hold on to the talented people that you have. One of the things that among the many risks that we have, that we are seeing, are cyber issues. I've seen numerous systems go down, sometimes for a day, sometimes for seconds or for minutes. And I can tell you, I've seen this time and time again, when suddenly people don't know what to do. The people that know what to do, the people that know how to override AI, are people that know the business, People that don't know the business have no idea what to do. It's a very costly mistake to replace or to think about replacing. I call them in the book the gray-haired brigade. But people that are experienced, you got to hold on to those.
Super. Those are words of wisdom indeed right now, because wisdom is what we need to approach this whole AI evolution and revolution with, in order for it to take us in the right direction. That makes complete sense. Nada, before we finish the interview, I just wanted to ask you if there's anything you're currently working on project-wise, or if you'd like to talk more about some of the other books you've written.
Thank you. I actually have 7 books, and obviously the latest one is the second edition of the Humachine. And my area of expertise is really, as you had mentioned, is really forecasting and how individuals and companies work with technology, but it is within the context of supply chains. I'm a supply chain expert. That's what my Ph.D. is in operations management. And those two actually go hand in hand, because on the one hand, you make predictions. On the other hand, you need to have an enterprise and a supply chain that is resilient. So there's 2 aspects I'm working on. One is developing resilient supply chains in this post-COVID era, and how supply chains integrate and work with technology and AI in order to enhance in the creation of resilient and agile supply chains. And then also scenario planning and risk assessment in the prediction side. So the two marriage between the forecasts and risks with a resilient supply chain and enterprise that can respond to a changing global environment.
Super.
And I encourage, if anybody's interested, my personal website, nadasanders.com, or find me on LinkedIn, and I will respond to everybody.
Wonderful. Sounds very interesting. And best of luck with your continued research in this area. I think that there are many more things to be covered in future books on the path that you're on right now, Nada. Thank you so much for your time right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening. Follow Thomas on LinkedIn.